I'm an investor in and I'm on the board of. But I don't need to tell that guy how to run a company. I know he knows how to run a company as well, if not better than I. So it is a huge amount of trust. If 3 business plans show up on my desk, and one of them comes from a friend who's going to co-invest, and the other 2 are cold, okay, there's a 10-time probability that I'll invest in the one that came with the personal recommendation, as well as the friend who's also putting money in on the side of it. This is one of the complaints a lot of people have. Venture capitalists travel like lemmings in packs, okay? You go to a venture capitalist and it's like, oh, you're interested in my company. Well, who's leading the round? Okay? I was hoping you would. Go find somebody else who will lead the round who is more impressive than me, and I will co-invest, behind that person. Walking into a venture capitalist with your lead investor, a very high-profile lead investor, gives you a 10 times more probability of being successful than if you walk in cold without that credibility. Credibility could be in the form of another venture capitalist who's tremendously known and successful, or a really good friend who's been successful at starting and growing and selling many businesses.
How do you find and employ your first few employees?
It's kind of the same way you find and employ your current employees, amongst them anyways. It really is, personal contacts and references. I find that, at least for Mock even now, if one of my employees says, yeah, I worked with that guy at my last company, and I would love to work with him again. He was a really brilliant guy, he was a hard worker, he'll really add a lot of value to this place. That's worth 100 cold interviews of people who look good on paper and who you don't know. So personal reference, word of mouth is better than anything, especially if you personally have worked with the guy before. And even to this day, much larger companies maybe can't do that. We've always had an employee referral program where we'll give one of our current employees a chunk of money to get one of their friends into the company. And some people have said, well, won't they just bring in any Tom, Dick, or Harry to get that money? And the answer is no, they won't. Because if they have to work with some idiot who they're doing half that guy's work, and they're annoying him every day, it isn't worth the finder's fee to be forced to work with somebody who you don't respect or don't like. We'll bring the company down and bring your bonus down. So if you have to give that finder's fee money back in your bonus, a year later, it's not worth it. So personal reference with a small bonus for a finder's fee is, in my opinion, the best recruiting method.
Can I maybe ask you the possibility and either your bonus? I think when things are on the way up, everything's fine and everything. But are there times when things are really bad, or really times when you actually learn hard lessons? What have we learned?
Yeah. That's a very good question. We had to do a layoff once at Mock, and I think it was the late 90s, maybe 97 or 98. It wasn't a lot of business at all. The best employees were being poached by .coms. We had to overpay to keep engineers. It was really tough for a real business that had real products and real profits to retain employees when the .coms were throwing piles of venture capital money at anybody to grow. So business was down, government spending was down, the quality of our employees was not that great, and we had to lay off 3 people, and that was the hardest thing I ever did. I really never ever want to do it again. And it turns out that the attitude of I want to keep everybody forever is not a good one either. So you have to have a good balance. Sometimes letting somebody go is the best thing for them too. If they're not doing well, keeping somebody in a job who's not doing well at the job and pretending that they're doing well at the job you're not doing anybody any favors. You're not doing the business owner's not doing himself a favor. The coworkers all get depressed. Morale is really affected, and that person is living in a fantasy world as if they're doing a good job. So you're really not doing them a favor either. You're maintaining an illusion of adequacy for some particular role where they might be better off in another job. So I've become a little more thick-skinned and a little more pragmatic these days. Not cruel, but and I often find now, in hindsight, that pulling the trigger faster is always better. There's a typical entrepreneur's adage: fire quickly and hire slowly. And it's sadly it's true. If you think that somebody's not going to work out, 98% of the time you're right, and waiting the extra 6 months to be assured of it is not really a good thing. So that was one kind of hard lesson I learned early on, that you don't really want to keep everybody around if they're not producing. The harm to the organization is much bigger. Money wise, never really. There were times when we were close to not making payroll, but we made payroll every time. not spend. And I have to say we were extremely good at not spending money we didn't have. I so easily see how some companies just run off and spend money they don't have, and then worry about later how they're going to pay for it. And that's horrific. Other really hard lessons. I'll probably think of more later, but I can't think of it. There were quite a few, I'm sure. It comes with thick skin.
Just another pragmatic question on the hiring the best people. For example, in Textiles we have probably around 20 teams, which have around 3 engineers, which brilliant engineers, they supposed to have a brilliant, basically, heads. But how do you recommend and where do you recommend them to find the best people, for example, in sales and operations and other particular because they don't have cash right now, but they do have to hire these people. What are your recommendations?
Well, usually with Techstars, the way the progression works is you get the team of people together. And you're right. The teams vary from 1 or 2 people up to 4 or 5 people. And it's usually the creative people and a few engineers, and maybe some guy who's good at business. And typically, what they do is for the Techstars semester, they work on the prototype to get it to the point where they can actually introduce it to some end users who give some validation that it's useful somehow, some way. Doesn't really matter if they have revenue. Revenue's nice, but not critically necessary. Then the next step is giving the investor pitch to all the investors, where they then raise their angel funding round. Now those who get angel funding then go off and hire sales and marketing professionals. And of course, if you've got the Boston office has 60 mentors, all of which are at my level or way above. The founder of Avid, or if you've heard Avid, make the video editing equipment. He's one of the mentors. Founder of Logic, a friend of mine. These are guys who've started, run, and sold 9-figure companies, or close to $1 billion companies. And they in these days when I am looking for sales, marketing, or business people, that's who I call. I pick up the phone to those 2 or 3 guys, and I say, hey, who did you have who was good at sales or marketing that you remember? And they'll rattle off a couple of names to me, and that's gold. Somebody who started and ran and sold a $500 million company says, yeah, that guy in marketing we had 2 levels down, he was a great guy. He was really good. He'd be good for you. It's access to mentors like that and having that network is worth much more than the cash you get from you know what a CEO or a C-level headhunter fee is? Okay, it's well more than the first angel round of all these companies.
I'm just not talking about the executives. I'm talking about the operations staff. For example, pay for performance. Where do you find them? What do you recommend?
Pay for performance?
Yeah, basically, if you want people to perform right, you don't put them in salary. One of the best ways you can do if you're a startup, just don't give them equity, but you give them the pay for performance without paying capital, right? So it might be one of the interesting ways. So where would you find these people? Executives, yes. If you do have money, if you do have cash, really. It's just networking, you lay out like eBay story or whatever stories, right? But if you don't have cash, what are your recommendations? What are your recommendations to do? Where to find them?
I don't really think it's any different. As if some period of time from now, somebody said to me, Warren, I've got a little startup company, we've got no money, but we're doing blah, 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 and we think it's really hot. And I looked at it and said, oh my God, I have to be involved with this. This is great. I don't need a paycheck. I can go to the company and say, okay, I'll tell you what, cut me this amount of equity and a tiny living stipend or something like that, and I will come work for you. If you have successful serial repeat entrepreneurs